Hi, I'm Steph,
I'm Katie, and this is Theo.
the star.
We are a married lesbian couple from Vancouver, BC, and we are the creators of Let's See the World.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content. We put out a new video every Friday. We've been together for 10 years now, and a lot has changed.
So when I met Steph in 2011, she was my first ever girlfriend, and when we started dating is when I came out. For me, as of last week, it's been 10 years of being openly gay. Would you have considered yourself openly gay before our relationship?
I think at the time I considered myself openly gay, but I don't think I was. I was open to friends selectively. My family knew, but I wasn't really comfortable with it. I wasn't really out and proud. Definitely in the time that we've been together, I've become a lot more comfortable with my own identity, and I can definitely say now that I am very out and very proud.
It's crazy that it's been a decade for both of us, and I think we've both come a really long way, and not just in our personal lives, but we've watched everything else come a really long way in that time as well. Looking back and being out and open for the past 10 years, it's really interesting to see how much things have changed in a lot of different ways. I would say one of the biggest things is just the representation that you see now in film and in television and even on social media. There really was none of that when I was first questioning my sexuality, and I can only think of how that would have benefited me at the time.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Obviously, it's been more than 10 years since I was questioning my sexuality because I was going through that process in high school, and so at that time there were only a handful of movies that I watched over and over again just because there was maybe one lesbian character or one same-sex relationship, and they weren't even necessarily good movies, but it was just so exciting to have that. And now, you can turn on Netflix and there's 20, 30 different shows or movies that have amazing representation and all kinds of representation. So that is a huge, huge change that is so amazing to see.
Yeah, I think it's so important for people to be able to see themselves on screen. And I know for me, the little representation that there was, Ellen was probably the biggest lesbian celebrity, but there were a lot of people that I just couldn't see myself in and I couldn't relate to. And I can only imagine what it would have felt like to see someone like me either out as a celebrity or as a character in film and television, or even just someone on social media had it existed at the time. If I had been able to see someone like me or a couple like us, it would have just let me know that this was all possible. That would have honestly changed my life.
Unlike Katie, who was in the dancing and modeling world, I was very much in the sports world. I played ice hockey and field lacrosse, both at very high levels, and a lot of the other athletes I knew were out in their personal lives, but not necessarily out in the public. So in the last 10 years, it's been so incredible to see so many big name athletes come out and really break down those barriers in the sports world. It's so amazing that these women are out and proud.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people say, no one should have to come out anymore, and we shouldn't have to make such a big deal about people coming out, but we're just not there yet. It's still a very big deal when people come out, and it's really important that, if possible, people with a platform and people who are in the public eye are able to come out, because it is such a big deal and there are so many eyes on them, and it means so much to their fans and so much to people who might be questioning to see that representation. It's so incredibly important.
I knew that would have been hugely impactful for myself, seeing that growing up. And, in the sports world, we kind of all just assumed that there were gay women, but there was no actual representation. I definitely heard a lot of homophobic remarks being said behind the scenes in the hockey world, and I can only imagine that the same was in the soccer world and basketball. And so seeing the representation that we have now is amazing, and I wish I had that when I was younger.
Representation in terms of film and television, I feel like has come such a long way, and now we are seeing such diversity in queer representation, especially for queer women and lesbians. We're not just seeing the same storylines over and over again. We're seeing a lot of different characters, and it's really exciting that so many people now can see themselves on screen.
In real life, the queer experience is not one-dimensional. It's not the same story over and over again, so of course it makes sense to see diversity in queer stories, and finally we are starting to get that. A lot of that is because of the people who are behind the scenes, writing, creating, directing. You know, we have so much more diversity in front of the camera and behind the camera.
It's really cool to look back and see how much has changed in these last 10 years and how far we've come, and it really just makes us excited to see where things are going to go in the next 10 years and the 10 years after that.
One of the other things that has changed a lot in the last 10 years are LGBT laws around the world.
Being from Canada, when we started dating, things like marriage rights were already legal in our home country. The whole time that we've been together, marriage equality has been a reality in Canada, so there was never a time where we wouldn't have been able to legally get married. Canada was actually one of the first countries in the world to legalize same-sex marriage back in 2005. So we've always felt very lucky to live in a country that recognizes same-sex relationships.
Being avid travelers, we've always been really aware of other countries' laws, especially when it comes to LGBTQ rights. In the last 10 years, so many more countries have passed marriage equality laws and anti-discrimination laws for the LGBT community, and it's so incredible to see. Some of the countries that have passed marriage equality laws in the last 10 years include Taiwan, Costa Rica, the US, the UK, Australia. Yeah, it's been incredible to see.
Obviously, not all queer people want to get married, and there are other laws that are just as important as marriage equality, but it is really important for same-sex relationships to be recognized under the law, and it also gives same-sex couples access to things like adoption and fertility treatments if they're looking to have children.
One of the reasons laws are so important is because they help to shape public opinion. When laws are more inclusive, then the general public tend to be more accepting and see the LGBT community as normal.
I think in the last 10 years, we've seen so much in the way of growing acceptance for the community, not just here at home, but all over the world.
We've always done a lot of travel internationally, and we've definitely become more comfortable over the years showing our affection in public, not just at home, but everywhere we go.
In the past 10 years, we've really just seen so much more acceptance for the community. We've felt it both personally and seen it on a broader scale. I think there's a lot more visibility than there used to be, and way more education about what it means to be gay or lesbian or in a same-sex relationship. We're also seeing more allies to the community, which is really incredible as well.
LGBT rights have always been important to the LGBT community, but now it seems like more and more in the last 10 years, LGBT rights are being seen broadly as human rights.
Obviously, we still have a long way to go, and there are a lot of people still living in unaccepting homes and living in unaccepting situations. But the great thing that we have now that we didn't have 10 years ago is this amazing online community. With social media, now people all over the world are able to connect to the queer community and talk to other people who are going through what they're going through and have access to a community that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. I think that in particular was also a really big part of our journeys. 10 years ago, when I was first coming out, I really didn't feel like I was a part of the community. I didn't meet any other gay women that I could relate to, and I honestly felt really out of place for years. And I think when we started our journey online and connecting with other people like us, for the first time, I really just felt like I belonged, and I think that's so important for anyone in their coming out journey.
That's also some really common feedback that we've received, that a lot of people feel that way, and so it's so amazing that we have this community that we can all share together and feel a part of something.
I think looking back on the last 10 years, it's so great to see how much things have changed around the world. And honestly, I'm just so proud of us for how far we've come in this past decade. And I'm just really excited to see where our journey continues to take us.
Thanks so much for watching. If you have any personal experiences in the last 10 years of how things have changed for you, be sure to leave them in the comments below. We'd love to hear it.
And if there are any other topics that you want to see us do videos on about our experiences as lesbians and as women in a same-sex relationship, leave those in the comments below too, and we will add them to our list.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.